All right, so I just want to make sure that I'm recording this properly. Previously, the sound was a little bit off on the past couple episodes. Audio is something that is very, very temperamental, and your technology doesn't always work how you would like it to. But if you didn't already know, this is DatDudeTP. I really haven't done a lot of these one-on-one videos, but I believe that it's something that I can depend on myself for, that I am available. I have the ability to record audio, and the video part, that may come a little bit later. Definitely know that there's a lot to say about video, but when it comes down to being, quite frankly, a one-man band, when it comes to my own content, not only are you the personality, but you also are the sound guy, the lighting guy, the guy that puts everything up, the guy that puts everything down, the one that has to make sure that the audio files are saved, the person that has to merge that audio file with the onboard camera file. There's a lot that's involved with starting a podcast, and I can really, highly suggest a couple podcasts that I'm currently listening to. One of which is the Future Moguls podcast with Matt and Gravel over at Timeless Recordings, being engineered by Chris Turner. Definitely check him out. And the one main difference between something like I'm doing and something that a professional studio has is it has experts and professionals like Chris. And that really enables Matt and Gravel. What are they on? Going on episode 30 now? And that's really only possible because having people on your team, people like X, people like Chris, to be able to provide that platform to handle, some of those challenges. Now, somebody like that is in my position where I do have microphones, I do have audio processors, I do have mixers, and I can very, very amateurly use GarageBand. Now that I look down at it, I set it on natural voice. I go over to the reverb, turn the reverb all the way down, go over to EQ, and find clear vocals. Now, a lot of other podcasts use tracking vocals and other forms, but I've always felt like natural voice, clear vocals, EQ has just been the best that I've found. But I just want to take this opportunity to little chop up session. I've never really done one of these videos, so I'm just going to kind of get into the state of college beats. What do we have going on? Whether or not that's our Freestyle Friday series that I can go in to a little bit of detail about, but this is just going to be kind of the preamble. I'm going to kind of ramble on a little bit about the things that we've got coming up or that we're currently doing, and any announcements and otherwise. So if you haven't already, definitely subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. This is a journey to 1,000. If we do not hit 1,000 subs, nobody's getting paid, because YouTube's algorithm and YouTube's whole platform has dinged people under 1,000 subscribers. And I also believe you need to have 5,000 consistent viewers per month as well, which luckily we break that with our Post Malone video. That's another topic that we can cover as well. The Post Malone Chronicles, that was a hell of an experience. I just dropped it, I believe, on Monday, like a Throwback Tuesday or a Throwback Thursday post on a Monday. Everybody, had their panties in a bunch, but it's just a hashtag, guys. It's just a hashtag. And if you can see over on YouTube, it's pushing 300, 400,000 views at this point. So something that I really wanted to do is go back on my hard drive and dig up some more of the footage. I recently just dropped the White Iverson live performance. We also have the Congratulations and the Rockstar that's going to be dropping in the next couple weeks. And really, as far as long-form content, I don't really hold in Instagram in too high of a regard. I believe that Instagram is just more or less a place to make short announcements for larger content. And I think that posting about Post Malone, whether or not that's a Throwback Thursday for me or just a post to kind of, get it out there to at least, inform people, because I feel like there is a big, big divide in people in terms of chasing your dreams and chasing clout. Look at Sheck West. He's on tour with Travis Scott right now. Sheck West is chasing his clout. So what makes it any different to an outlet or to any artist trying to get on with someone that can put them in a position? And I think that clout chasing is very, very closely associated with dream chasing. And I think that one of the main things that I wanted to cover on my own podcast, Big Egos, is to really change the negative conception or connotation of the word ego. Because I believe as an entrepreneur, you do have to be self-promoting. You do have to be a masochist at times. You do have to put yourself and your reputation out on the line in order to grow your business. And I feel like you're disingenuous or you're afraid of putting out your own ideas and your own self-promotion because, you may be considered to have an ego, or you may not really know how to present yourself in a very conditioned fashion, which is unfortunately a lot of the cases for a lot of people. And I think that, the sheeps out there that try to travel with their own and never venture out to see, other realms, other niches, other audiences, because I look at myself. If I were to be sitting down for myself a year ago and were to have a podcast with myself, the 2-year ago TP would be talking about, hey, I'm a business consultant from outside the industry, taking an outside the industry approach to the music industry. Today, I consider myself a video producer, editor. I consider myself today, after 2 years, as an artist. And I think when you become an artist, things do get a lot more subjective. And I think early on in my journey, I handled things very objectively. In a lot of cases, to just, tell on myself a little bit, Trevor, my partner, is a lot more of the music selector of the group. I was coming from being 15 years old with a mobile auto detailing business where I would, instead of focusing so much on detailing cars, which I knew I wasn't going to do for the rest of my life, I used it as a vehicle because mobile auto detailing. Who can afford a $200 detail? Somebody with some money. So the whole business model was not so much to detail cars as it was to develop relationships with affluent people. And that whole business model was successful, and I ended up getting paired up with a merchandise promotional product company on Beachmont Avenue at the time, under different management today. Don't want to dox anybody, but it was an Embroid Me establishment where we would sell anything from branded pens to t-shirts and hats. And at the time, while I was going to college, I learned that the highest level of selling was consulting. So rather than just approaching an individual or a business from the perspective of, all right, well, how can I make this sale today? And I really started looking at developing companies from a holistic perspective. And I think that sort of development is what is influencing my direction with artists. That I really don't see the purpose of nickeling and diming somebody for a shirt here and there, or a car wash here and there. It's more or less, how can we develop the biggest company possible to have as much quality possible? And if we're able to do that, we're going to be able to succeed on our merit. We're going to be able to have a reputation. We're going to be able to have deep emotional relationships with the people that we're working with. We are going to love the people that we're doing business with. We are going to want the people that we are working with to be successful. Those people are also going to want us to be successful. And I don't want to make money unless you're making money. Because if you're not making money, then I'm not making money. And how am I supposed to send my kids to college? Hold up. How do I send your kids to college? How do I pay for college for my associates, my employees, my contractors? That is my goal, and that's really how I measure success, because anyone can get lucky. Anybody can be put in a position for themselves to succeed. But someone that is able to take that success and replicate it in someone else and enrich somebody else's life, they themselves will be better for it, whether or not that's network-wise or karma. And I think karma is one of the biggest components of business and the biggest components of life. That if you don't treat people the same way that you would want to be treated, that's bad karma. And if you attack somebody or hate someone, where, I could see it, in the situation that you're a product of your environment, or jealousy, or a lot of different variations. I heard something from Adam22, and I think I mentioned this in Anthony's podcast, that in a lot of situations, the moment you give someone something that has never had it and then take it away, they're obviously going to be upset. And I think that has really significantly been something that has hurt me. Because as a business consultant, heading all the way back to Embroid Me, when I met College Beats, when I met Trevor, I was really able to see the vision of College Beats. And maybe not at the time it was DJs, but I could see that they could be developed in a holistic standpoint. Now, whether or not that was linking up with J Guts or True Viz, which, big shout to True Viz, our logo, super lit. And, I can just give shout outs across the board. This is going to be a little bit of an introductory type of podcast. Don't know if I'm calling it a podcast or the State of College Beats, Big Ego's podcast. Not really sure. We're coming up in about the 14-minute mark. Where am I at? That's probably what a lot of people are wondering. Where is TP? Well, let me take a little bit of a drink. Now, that's a very good question. We are at the College Beats compound. Now, I know a lot of you throughout the past 2 years, I've often spoke a lot about this place. And it's happening. And it's happening not as quick as I thought it would. Happened a little bit earlier than I was expecting. But we have remodeled the office, the bathroom, which are some of the most important pieces. Because, number one, I want people to feel comfortable here. Comfortable chairs, meeting room table, a couple whiteboards. There's a lot that can be done here. And I know that it's a little bit of a hike for sure. And what I really want to develop long term is an Airbnb-esque place for rappers and their teams to come for weeks at a time, where there could be a kitchen, high-end bunk beds. Check out a video, type in Google, LA co-working, co-living space. I may call her because I really like that platform. And I feel like there are a lot of people that have a lot of bills, whether or not it's a car payment of $400+, rent of $600+, or you're living at home, or you're living out, your baby mama's house. I don't know your exact situation. And this can be a place that can eliminate those distractions and create an entire project, and not only create it acoustically in a good environment, but also shoot any visuals you want. It's a fantasy factory. 3,600 square feet. Plenty of parking. Full access. Going 150%. And I think that something that I also want to cover a little bit is publishing. And this is something that is kept on the DL, but this is TP, and I like to talk. So we're going to talk a little bit in ASMR about publishing. Okay. So Jimmy Iovine. Jimmy Iovine made a lot of bad deals, but he was in a position of power. He would use, 50% publishing on some of these projects, and he'd bring out 5 artists to do a jam-packed feature with DJ Khaled and 1,500 other people, including Justin Bieber. And those were big deals, and those were big hits. But I obviously can do that to a lesser extent and only offer 10% publishing, or plus, depending on what we're bringing to the table, whether or not that's recording, mixing, engineering, mastering, video production, photography, graphic design, merchandising, DJ plays, playlist connections in general. And so that's basically the end of the ASMR conversation on publishing. All right, so that was a really, really big meme, and I hope that it ends up coming out as good as I think it does. Yeah, ASMR on publishing, because you got to keep it on the DL. And I want to also give a big shout out to Matt Shear from Double Sin and Timeless Recordings for partnering up with us on the DJ Jams. That is the next subject on my mind. So before I get into the DJ Jams, I just want to give a little bit of a background. And I can't really speak too much on the DJ side of things. That's more so Trevor's cup of tea. So I won't go too deep into it, but I will at least tell you what I know. And as of this moment, we have 10 glorious episodes. We're coming up on the 18th minute. If you're listening this long, here is your Easter egg, okay? We've got 10 episodes, 10 different DJs. We've got twerking. We've got all kinds of DJs from all kinds of different platforms and genres. We've got an EDM DJ. We've got a whole arrangement of different DJs. It should be super lit. We're also looking to hold some sort of event, so definitely stay tuned for that. And once again, big shout out to Double Sin and Timeless Recordings. Now, I'm just kind of going a little bit point by point here. Like I said, this is completely unrehearsed. I did write out notes earlier in the morning, but guess what? I left the paperwork back at the house. So this is what you get. Very, very sporadic points. Let's talk about donuts and alcohol. They've got their Mama Named Me Evan, Ronan, and Knots. And I hadn't known Knots before this time. I believe that Donuts and Alcohol, Gravel, and Tatum met her at the City Beat Awards. Did not go myself, but looked like a very, very sweet time. Now, let's talk a little bit about Donuts and Alcohol. I want to give a big shout out to Gravel for being one of the only individuals to compensate us, which is very, very appreciated. We are going up on the 20-minute mark. And, I just want to give a big shout out to Donuts and Alcohol. It's been a long journey this past year. Big shout out to Monty C. Benjamin for bringing us together on the Cincy Secret Show. It has been one hell of a year. You guys have done fantastic, averaging well over 100 views per episode. Definitely check them out on YouTube. Donuts and Alcohol. Drink your donuts, eat your alcohol. And that's usually how it goes down over there. So, big shout out to Jake running the cameras, Ricky for playing a supporting role in production, as well as Aaron shooting the behind the scenes. So that has really been something interesting that we've been involved in over the past year, and it's really fun because I started out as a fan. I really enjoyed their editing. I loved their apartment type of setup. And I was always, I really like their what's the word that I would use? Style. There's boldness. Trying to think of other descriptive descriptions. Playful, nice brand, nice, wholesome. However wholesome and family an alcohol related company can be. It's very friendly, So big shout out to those guys over there. You can see season 4 now. Evan, Ronan, and Not. Ronan has been released. Evan just released. And Not should release sometime next week. I don't know when this podcast is going to be out. So this may be a little bit of a spoiler. But most of you probably are not listening on the 22nd point. Now, we talked about the jams. We talked about Donuts and Alcohol. Another thing that we can talk about is Freestyle Friday. And I think that we're deep enough to be talking about this. Very, very controversial. Not for us, because we're the ones that shoot it. We're not responsible for the artist per se. Although we have gotten a handful of artists, Deo Gold, JB, Eben Flow, Jay Guts, Chris Crooks, Fame, and a handful of others. What I will say is I can appreciate the platform that we're giving. And we've got 20 going on 30 episodes. And I know that a lot of people like getting sour and getting a little bit emotional about certain freestyles that aren't considered freestyles, at least in their opinion. And what I have to say, or what our statement is, what the College Beats statement is, would be, we've got 30 other episodes. Find something you can enjoy, and once you find it, please share, please like, please let us know down in the comments what you like specifically, and make sure to share, because that's the only way we're going to know what you particularly want us to promote. And at the end of the day, we're there to support the culture. And however that is done, whichever way that is done, when you look at one video and make it not as applicable as 30 other episodes, and when you don't have any of the same people complaining about the 30 other episodes, or in contrast, promoting the other 30 episodes, how do you look? And I think that really is something that people need to think about. think about what that does to someone that is in a position of power. You're going to get more with sugar than salt. And we're all walking around with wounds. And although we take a more corporate type of approach, because like I said, I have been hurt in the past. I have been threatened. I have been extorted. I have been put in a lot of uncomfortable situations in order to get to this point. And I think that it would behoove me to have the best of intentions and support in any way that I see fit. And if people aren't comfortable with that, then create your own content. And if you like the content that we're creating, then please share it and support. Because at the end of the day, we're only as big as our neighbor. And if our neighbor is struggling, if our neighbor isn't surviving, that's going to bring our value down. Look at it. If you're in a neighborhood and the house across the street isn't cutting their grass, that destroys the value of the neighborhood. We have to prop up and sure, give constructive criticism where it's due, sure. But if you're only giving the negatives and the other 365 days when they are cutting their grass, you're not going over there and playing a friendly game of ping pong or bringing them over, a sack of potatoes or fixing their computer or shoveling their driveway or helping them bring in groceries or paying their son to detail your car a few times a year to help him start his business. That you have to support today digitally other people, because since the digital age, everyone's music is online and everybody's music is free. And now the barrier to entry is a lot easier. And don't get me wrong, there has been a lot of people that have gotten opportunities from the new form of media. Soulja Boy, big shout out to you, man. And unfortunately, that whole Napster, LimeWire, BearShare type of environment has caused there to be a vacuum in the industry. And not only has there been a vacuum, but it's been filled up with saturation and duplication and consistency over quality. And I feel whenever I get into a lot of production scenarios, I always make the point that if we have the equipment, why are we using it? Just look at it. If you're trying to fight a fire and you've got a watering hose and the fire truck pulls up, what are you going to do? This is life or death. Your name and your reputation is that important. It is your life's work. It is your resume. It is your name. And I just don't feel comfortable putting things out that aren't placing myself in the best possible light possible. Because at the end of the day, I can go to sleep or I could close shop tomorrow and take an L and say, well, I did my best. And that isn't just a statement. I know unequivocally that I did what was best, and that was something that I can really feel. And I'm kind of, like I said, this is getting a little bit rambly. I'm going to take another drink of water. We're coming up on the 30-minute mark. And, I hope anyone that's listening, if you're listening at this point, and anything that I've said over the past 30 minutes has registered in your mind, that has helped you overcome something or has inspired you to have some sort of resolution within yourself, please let me know down in the comments. Because if this isn't starting a discussion, if I'm not helping people and you're not letting me know, Where's my motivation? And that's really what this all comes down to. Because if you don't want me to succeed, then how can I help you? And if we can't partner up as outlets, and if we can't partner up as individuals and take this to the highest level possible, we have to be Michael Jordan. We have to be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We have to be Tom Brady. We have to be the best at whatever we do, because otherwise, this is not going to work. The market is so saturated. We have to develop a music coalition. And really how I look at it, you're running around with videographers with $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 plus an equipment. Whether or not that means lenses, lights, computers, gimbals, batteries, SD cards, SSDs, hard drives, 1,000 other accessories that you could possibly have, drones. And you've got, like I said, 5, 10 producers with all, relatively similar equipment. Sony's, you've got some GH5s walking around. You've got a couple with older Reds or newer Reds. I'm not too keen on it. And what we need to do is pull those assets together and buy the best possible equipment. Now, whether or not that goes towards this publishing that I'm talking about, because publishing really, really matters. And, I don't want to get too much into publishing because that's a conversation for another day. I want to have someone else come in and kind of give their vantage on it, because I am not an expert on anything. I am a jack of all trades and a master in none. So, like I said about DJs, Trevor. Music selection, Trevor. Any other topics that I'm going to mention, these all need to be spoke on by other professionals. And I think that this is what this whole episode is for, is to kind of line out the freestyle, the jams, the DJs, publishing. All of those main topics that we're going to cover in this series, because it really affects the state of college beats. Are we solid? Are we a liquid? Are we a gas? And if that makes any sense to you, please let me know. We're coming up on the 33 mark, and I am sitting by myself in the office watching cars go by. It's a cold day, but it is a sunny day. I'm feeling a lot better. My sleeping schedule has been better. I'm a little bit hot. I'm going to take a couple layers off here. And, I just want to welcome you guys, because I think it's been a long time since I've spoken to a lot of people. And this is just a factor of your environment, that when you go from taking 3+ calls a day, a year and a half ago, I was taking 3+ calls a day. I was networking at a very high clip, too high of a clip, a burnout type of clip. And clip in terms of speed, very fast. And I had a lot of experiences where I was not compensated. And let's talk a little bit about compensation. This is a controversial topic. What I believe is, if you're not compensated, the biggest outlet possible should be using you. And they should be giving you their biggest contacts. Because what I've seen is, any time where we have been compensated, our network is not as connected. Because you did work for some one person. You can't reach out to 15 different people and promote the content. That's whoever's content that is paying you. And although that is very restrictive, it also puts gas in your car, and speck on the table. And I like speck. I like speck very much. Matt, as a vegan, would not like speck. And if anybody doesn't know, speck is German for the word meat or fat. Just a little fun fact of the day. And I am having a rude awakening because I really looked at media from the standpoint of means to promote. That I was really using this camera just to get my foot in the door. Same way as I had done previously with detailing or Embroidered Me with the marketing company, getting into College Beats. I used the camera to get into the door. And this is what I would straight up tell people. And people would question and go, hey man, like you're really discrediting yourself. No, I just know that my main goal is to get as high and as far as possible. Because if I sat down right now and tried to be an expert at one thing, yeah, that focus would help. And that's certainly something that I've done over the past year since I had my burnout. You know, focusing on video production and editing. So don't get me wrong. But in that time, in realizing that I was an artist, I do also want to reflect on the past. And I think that we first have to establish some sort of baseline. And I know a lot of you have spoken to me, whether or not it be 45-minute long phone calls or meetings, part there. But I know I've also probably disappointed a lot of people. And that was from overestimating and still producing, but when you've got your own company and you're producing your own content, you're, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, you're dealing with your own lights, you're dealing with your own video, you're dealing with your own audio, you're dealing with your own editing, you're dealing with your own posting, and you're dealing with your own marketing. That's a little bit that's not a little bit overwhelming. I'm gonna be completely serious about this. That is too much. Look at Matt and Gravel. They're on the 30th episode because they have Timeless to support them. So that's really something that you have to look at as an outlet, as a creator, that it really damages yourself to burn yourself out. And I think that that is something big that YouTubers, especially with the new age of media, you've got the Jimmy Kimballs, you've got the Jimmy Fallons, they're crawling all around YouTube, and YouTube is not supporting their day one creators. And hey, it's their own platform. It's I believe a private company, or it may be it's most likely a public company, and they have to, cater to their stockholders. And if Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel is going to bring in X amount of advertising dollars off rip, when all we can really bring to the table is a couple microphones, laptops, cameras, does YouTube benefit from that? Does B&H have a deal with YouTube? Hey man, you got that vlogging camera, where's that 20% YouTube tax? YouTube did not see any of those gains. Maybe somehow in the affiliate links in your description, but probably not. Now you've got services like Patreon that also are taking away from, is there some sort of YouTube tax with Patreon? Does YouTube own Patreon? So you've got so many other methods of YouTubers being paid. Merchandise. Does YouTube have a merchandise store? I mean, they probably didn't want to deal with all of that flack. They just wanted your data. So that's extremely likely that the only reason why they're giving this platform for free is because they want your data. They want your data. And your data is the whole purpose behind giving you these services. GPS. Do you think GPS is cheap? I'm pretty sure they're paying millions of dollars for Elon Musk to launch satellites on a yearly basis. That's not cheap. Your data is what they're looking for. So as a YouTuber, as a creator myself, I think a lot about these things. And we're coming up on the 40-minute mark. And I've really covered quite a bit of things. Covered the Freestyle Friday, the controversy there. We will be having a cypher coming up in the next couple weeks. And that hopefully will be wrapping up the round. And hopefully, depending solely on the DJ up in Columbus, Power 103 or 105, hopefully, God willing, coming up on 40 minutes. So this is real down low information. Hopefully, we'll get the opportunity to go up to Columbus. So, big shout out to Columbus. Contacted a few people up there. Sam Rothstein, I've not met him. Matt's a good friend of him. Try to reach out to him about artists who he thinks would be good at freestyling. If you're a Columbus artist, or if you know anybody in Columbus that has the clout, we've got to chase that clout. You got anybody that, would be willing to come up, bring their phone, bring their bars, sponsored by Sprint. And I really think that's something that we're sleeping on, that every time we bring someone up there and they decide to use their phone, we need to have it sponsored by Sprint, Metro PCS, Verizon. Call me. What's up? Send us a DM. Email us. Come on. Let's get paid. Because at the end of the day, when someone brings up their phone, and especially if it's someone that actually has a following and actually has views, guess what? Not only does that bring views, but that also brings controversy, and controversy brings more views. So what you're looking at, Sprint, Verizon, Metro PCS, it's a lot of viewers. So I think that is something that we also need to consider. So if there's any representatives in the marketing department, let me know. Give me a call. And so we've got a cypher coming up with a handful of the craziest ones from this year. And I look at the lineup and I'm like, man, that's going to be hard to arrange the schedule. And we're looking at a couple individual freestyles coming up as well. It's real hard because a lot of people want to work with us. A lot of people want us to shoot their freestyles, but no one's coming at us with a budget. People talk. Hey, Tony. Hey, TP. What happened? Well, if you didn't have a budget, where's the priority here? That if it's not a priority to you, it's not a priority to us. And if you're not going to come up with some sort of format, like, for example, talked about Kelby Savage. I don't want to expose too much of his idea, but something, very nice that we're going to do for him, record a couple songs, and we're going to benefit out of it too. And I think that is really how love is passed on. Because if you're respectful of my time, I'm going to be respectful of your time. And I think that that's how we need to treat each other. And this is another subject that I can go into. And it goes into cryptocurrency and an entertainment-based coin where instead of people just doing free work, they could give arbitrary amounts of coins. Now, I don't know what, I don't want to call it College Beats coin. Let's not call it that, but just for the sake of conversation. Let's say you're a producer, or you're an intern, or you're an artist, that whomever opts into this system from the ground up would get, let's say, everyone gets 100 million college beats coins. Okay? And each artist has a sub coin. Let's say J Hill coin, Deo Gold coin, JB coin, Ronin coin. And based on your value or based on your interaction, everybody gets some form of compensation. Now, whether or not that is in USD, but the value will be based on the volume. And if we can use this as a way to solve the starving artist issue, where if we can get the volume high enough where there are producers and videographers and artists all using this form of internet-based currency to communicate with other producers from other places where they may not really be able to work that easily, or they're in a very centralized location. And what I believe is it will give a platform to each individual artist, because you will know your success based on your volume. And so rather than measuring success from the perspective of, well, how much money did you make this week? And you can measure it by what type of effort that you're putting out. And of course, the better the coin does, the better the volume is. And this is going to be decentralized. It doesn't need to be the College Beats coin. That's just for conversation purposes. It can be third-party coin. It can be, I don't want to expose too many ideas here, but you get what I'm saying, that if we're already not getting paid, we might as well have some sort of arbitrary monopoly money that we can play with. Because at the end of the day, not paying or not expecting anything at any time is not healthy. And it's not going to survive anything. Because I was even listening to a Joe Rogan podcast earlier today, and they were talking about universal basic income. $1,000 dividend that would be awarded to anyone to opt into, and to give away. $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year, to enable people, a lot of people probably, to create. And with the price of cameras coming down, 4K cameras, audio equipment. Now, I'm not saying everybody's as technically skilled, and I think this was also something that Joe Rogan spoke to another guest about, is learning how to code and the controversy behind that, where they were talking about minors in a hashtag saying, learn to code. And when journalists were asked, or laid off, the hashtag reemerged and a lot of accounts were getting banned. And I think that learning to code, learning how to use technology, learning audio, learning video, all of these things are the future. Creativity is the future. And, you can look at doctors, you can look at not anesthesiologists because they put people to sleep, but, they did surgery on a grape. There are going to be more technology, more artificial intelligence that can detect tumors. So, someone that was getting paid $100,000+ a year to detect maybe 1,000 tumors a year, 1,000 tumors a month, a computer can do that in 15 seconds. And that job is going to be irrelevant, because who's going to want to put your life in the hands of a human that may make a mistake? And that can also be said about cars and all kinds of other automation that's coming, because at the end of the day, if you can have a proliferation of electric cars that are all autonomous and can speak to each other, that's going to significantly decrease the likelihood of people being hurt and people being able to use their time more successfully. And that's really what inspired Elon Musk to get into the Boring Company, is sitting in traffic and, the 2-3 hours of him just wasting his time. And a lot of these industries that are going to be coming down in the next 10 to 15 years, I mean, you look at the new Green Deal. I mean, there are a lot of potential policies that change the way that people work, how they live, and most likely how they eat. I'm looking at different homestead farmers, people that are nurses, people that do have a stable income, but are going out to places like North Carolina and buying hundreds, if not thousands of acres and purchasing land where they can basically fund the purchase of this land and completely hollow it out for harvesting of the trees. And like it's called like lily ponds or something, not lily ponds, but lily pine trees that have like a 30-year lifespan. And if it's anything more than that, you're just going to get dry rot and you're just going to be wasting trees. But within your lifetime, you can have 2 full cuts of this wood, right? And wood is a pretty sustainable type of income. So, it's not like you're planting 100-year-old oaks or, you're obviously going to plant stuff that is related to your area. But it's interesting to see life, whether or not it's the music industry and what we're dealing on a daily basis, or the tech industry with artificial intelligence, or the farming community. You've got, what is it called? My Wyoming Life. Great show. Their grandfather had large swaths of land because he sold the rights to the coal in some of the property. So they just had large amounts of land. And his wife's stepfather was passing away, and they were in a radio-related job. I wish I could remember his name. I believe it's Mike. And Mike was able to take his radio-based job, come out to Wyoming on a several thousand-acre ranch in Wyoming, very windy, hardly any grass, and truck in thousands of dollars worth of grass and cultivize a part of land that he had never even imagined that he would be cultivating. I mean, he's just some radio guy from the city in Kansas or St. Louis, and his wife says, hey man, my stepdad has a couple 1,000-acre farm. Let's go head out there and start a completely different life. That's some wild stuff. That's just a few things that I've been researching lately. Because really, I'm very, very interested in anything that I would not ever find myself doing. And I think that is something that the internet allows people to do. They allow people to live in other people's shoes and get a window into somebody's life that they would have otherwise not gotten into. And whether or not you want to be Adam 22, Joe Rogan, like I do, or you're just a simple gentleman, fisherman, cattleman, farmer, or a coder. I believe that in the future, there will be a place, really for anything. And unfortunately, cows do produce a lot of emissions, a lot of methane. So we'll see how the cows do, But I think at the end of the day, there will be technology that comes in, and I'm kind of getting way too out of control here. This is turning into something that is definitely not College Beach related. But This was the State of College Beats, the State of TP, TP's Big Egos podcast. And, what do I got to say? Big shout out to TP. Shout out to Trevor, Hope, Cody. I want to give a little plug for Cody. Cody's photography is super lit. You can find him at Cody J. Kirshner on Instagram. Very lit. Quavo, Honcho actually reposted one of his photos. Shout out to Doubleson and Matt for hooking us up with that relationship down at US Bank. Cody did a great job. Now, Cody's been a great companion on the Freestyle Friday. We would not have this much quality. I mean, look at it. Look at episode number 1. I was using the 80D on the gimbal. Looked terrible. Cody has enabled us to look tenfold better. We'd be sitting there with 1080p cameras. So thank you, Cody. You're very dependable. And I just want to reach out and say thank you, man. I would not be able to produce at the level that we do without you. And it's been one hell of a year, and thank you. So if anybody needs any photography, definitely let us know in our DM and we can set it up. We've got a white backdrop, black backdrop, red backdrop. We can basically any color you want. Cody can get it. So if you need a headshot for your resume, your LinkedIn profile, Tinder, it's really up to you guys. And big shout out to him. And I also want to thank DJ Hope. He was at Nice Cotty's event this past week as well. Big shout out to Hope. He gave me a little bit of a pep talk earlier in the night, and I just want to, let him know that I appreciate him and everything that he's doing to support College Beats. He is at Ladder in addition to the Lat Bar. He's at Ladder Saturdays. He's at the Lat Bar in, I believe, around Xavier on Fridays. Then he's got karaoke at Woody's on Thursday. And I believe he's got hopscotch on Monday, possibly. Definitely check us out on at College Beats on Instagram. Also, C Beats Radio on Twitter. We've also got the SoundCloud. And something else that I kind of want to announce, we're coming up on the hour mark here. We are entering a collab with, how would I put this? Universal Music Group affiliate of the college scene. So you're going to be seeing more about that. Stay tuned. I don't have all of the information, but we were reached out by a college representative of Universal Music Group. So definitely sounds like something interesting. We're working out all the details as far as what logos we're able to use and etc. We're just kind of cranking out a little bit of content here and there. We're learning from it. I'm going to really see, because at the end of the day, Trevor is the music playlist guy. And so that's what we're going to be creating with Universal Music Group and their college affiliate. Let me look it up if I can get it. Okay, it's called U Music Experience. So UMUSICEXP. So U Music Experience. It's a record label. We are Universal Music Group's team of future music industry execs creating dope content, partnerships, and events. They've got about 50 plus ambassadors all around different schools. Big shout out to the representative that reached out to us. I don't know how much I want to come out with, but I will say stay tuned. It is a big opportunity for us and hopefully a big opportunity for you. And as you already know, this was DatDudeTP for the State of College Beats, and we'll see ya.